Tzu Chi volunteers bring 5 TV sets to the Serbian refugee camp in hopes to provide spiritual support. Nearly 4,000 people show up to celebrate the 25-year journey of Tzu Chi's Indonesia chapter. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Lori Chen. Thank you for joining us. Starting in 2017, one of the main refugee camps in Serbia started taking male refugees who were stranded in the country. Since last year, Tzu Chi volunteers have been providing them with 2 meals a day. This time around, they've installed 5 TV sets, hoping to provide some spiritual support.
At 7 a.m., as fresh bread has been delivered to Obrenovic camp, the refugees also started to arrive at the cafeteria for breakfast. This refugee camp, which was reconstructed from the old military camp, started to accept male refugees who were stranded in Serbia since May of 2017. Most of them have come from Middle East or Southern Asia, hoping to seek refuge in Europe.
Last year, after opening of this camp, in May, I think, of 2017, around 1,350. We have here people from Pakistan. They're, the major nationality here. Around 450 people from Pakistan. After that, Afghanistan, around 260, 70. Around 12, 13, 14 nationalities.
The refugee camp has accepted more than 1,000 refugees. The camp operation relies on various charity organizations. Tzu Chi Foundation was one of the earliest NGOs that have been providing ongoing assistance.
They're here, and we're here to help him. And that's very, very sad, because nowhere to go, nowhere back to home.
Tzu Chi Foundation.
This time, the volunteers have brought them some special gifts. They hung 5 60-inch TV sets around the dining area, hoping to provide some spiritual support to the refugees.
Syrian people and the other people, your foundation help very much. We learn from TV and we know about you from TV that this is your foundation.
During their temporary stay and wait at the refugee camp, they could only kill time by drawing. However, this drawing is very unique.
I'm from Pakistan. I'm giving gift to Taiwan people.
Why you want to give it to Taiwan people? Why?
Because they serve us good food and everything.
He drew a heart with helping hands. On the picture he wrote, "This is a gift from Pakistan for the people of Taiwan." Although it is only a sketch, it also represents the recognition and appreciation for the Tzu Chi volunteers.
One of the affected resident, Regina, from the Hawaiian volcano eruption, is a Hawaiian native and has always been living by the waters. She deeply understands why everyone is still in shock, because no one ever thought this was something to worry about. She's very grateful to Tzu Chi's aid and felt a deep emotional connection. She has even vowed to become a local volunteer.
The house that we lived in, that was a family house. Our family built it years ago. It was built back in the 50s, and it was like the first or second house that was built there. So it was really cool. It's like I remember being a kid and being able to go down to the beach there and going fishing there, going diving there. And I think that that's what scares everybody in general, is that they thought, oh, we're so safe, we're by the ocean. The only thing we have to worry about is tsunamis, tidal waves, things like that. And even the hurricanes cause large waves to come up and heavy winds. And all of a sudden in May 1st, the ground started to shake. And after that, it was all just kept happening, a chain reaction. First it was earthquakes, then it was lava, then it was more lava, and then it just kept happening. And now our roads are cracking up towards volcano Ka'u side.
Right there is Fissure 8. That's the main one. That's where it's coming from.
People, people don't understand. It's just it's a hard feeling to explain, because it's hard to take in that all of a sudden you've lost everything.
Actually, I need this. Thank you.
When somebody helps me and gives something to me, I feel like I should do what I can to help them in their situation. And I see Tzu Chi coming and helping all of us and everybody taking advantage of their help and not realizing the true gift that they're bringing, because the monetary donations is great and all, but it was much deeper than that. It was on an emotional level, you know, of, hey, we care about you. And I'd asked them, well, is there anything I can do? What can I do? They told me about the volunteering.
And so I kind of try to look at it as like, well, it's a bummer, but this is an opportunity for a new beginning, to start, you know, kind of start things afresh. So maybe some good can come from it. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's how you want to handle the situation afterwards, I guess. How you choose to react to it in the end.
The most amazing thing that I've seen happen so far in this entire situation is the amount of help, the amount of gratitude, the amount of people coming together to change the situation as much as they can, to try and do anything to help another person.
Torrential rain in Nam Province, Thailand caused massive flooding in multiple areas. Bangkok City volunteers traveled for an hour to an affected village to assess the damages. Many of the residents suffer tremendous agricultural loss and have no other financial resources. Therefore, volunteers distributed prepaid debit cards to all 223 households.
Torrential rain in Wan Sa County has flooded the small town for 3 or 4 days. Local farmers are suffering a significant loss.
We were about to harvest our corn and vegetables, but all the corn is flooded now. This came unexpectedly.
The water was about the height of my chest. Luckily, the larger furniture wasn't damaged because the military has helped us move it to the second floor. Tzu Chi volunteers have divided into 4 teams to conduct home visitations, information collecting, data confirmation, and cash card distribution, which was accompanied by the village chief and the major. In addition to showing care, they also offer practical assistance.
Most villagers relied on agricultural harvest for their annual income, but now they've lost their only financial source, so the best way to help them is giving them financial aid. They can get back to their life with this money.
I will use the money to buy logan seeds because my logan trees were ruined. This is the only way I can make my living.
With warm care from volunteers, affected residents finally have regained some strength. Many flood survivors also reciprocate the great love because giving is more blessed than receiving.
Staying on the topic of heavy rain, many of the villages in Dong Si Jia were still severely flooded. Besides providing hot meals for the affected residents, Tzu Chi volunteers also helped with the cleanup efforts. In addition, prayer ceremonies in different places were held, sending them sincere blessings.
Delivering the noodles and porridge with sincerity, Darling Tzu Chi Hospital doctors attended the prayer ceremony to protect against natural disasters. They gathered the power of love to pray for those affected by the 823 flood.
Today, the ceremony concluded successfully. However, this does not mean that our care for this area ends. We will organize some activities and continue to provide assistance for this community.
To hold 6 different prayer ceremonies in 8 villages at the same time, volunteers from different parts of Jia mobilized to help.
I came to thank Tzu Chi volunteers for their love and care on behalf of the more than 400 residents in Shilun village. They distributed financial aid and helped flood survivors clean their homes. They even braved the wind and rain to send us bentos to prevent us from going hungry.
I'm very grateful to the Tzu Chi Foundation for providing us with supplies, bentos, medical assistance, and even cleanup efforts. They also conducted home visits. I'm very thankful.
A video of the flooding disaster is played on the screen, bringing the residents to tears. Volunteers also gave a sign language performance to ease their anxious minds.
During the 3 days of the disaster, it was Tzu Chi who sent us bentos. They rode on National Army's vehicles and walked in flood water, going door to door to distribute rice and bentos. Therefore, each one of us should be thankful to Tzu Chi volunteers for providing us with disaster relief aid. This is a merit.
I'm here to express gratitude to Tzu Chi on behalf of our villagers. Today they came to hold a prayer ceremony for all the flood survivors, to wish them peace, happiness, and good health.
With the volunteers' love and blessings, DaAi affected residents have gradually walked out of the darkness brought about by floods.
Indonesia once experienced a massive wave of riots due to the widening gap between the rich and the poor. Back then, a group of Taiwanese businessmen held Dharma Master Zhenyan's teachings to promote ethnic harmony. They started to dedicate themselves to the Indonesian society through various charitable missions. Recently, the Tzu Chi Indonesia chapter celebrated its 25th anniversary, and nearly 4,000 people gathered to celebrate the occasion and prayed for world peace. The journey hasn't been easy, but the learning has been priceless.
The documentary showed how Tzu Chi cleaned up the Angke River and restored it back to its original appearance. On the 25th anniversary of Tzu Chi's Indonesia chapter, the participants watched the footage of when Taiwanese businessmen started to plant the seeds of love in Indonesia.
This is a documentary film which recounts Tzu Chi's footprints. It talks about the meaning of life. Why do we feel happy when we volunteer with Tzu Chi? It's because Tzu Chi gives us the opportunity to serve those who are in need.
The CEO of Tzu Chi Indonesia chapter, Liu Sumei, as well as two deputy CEOs, are the pioneers in the makings of what Tzu Chi Indonesia is today.
We should seize every moment and not forget our initial aspirations. We should not stress about having too much responsibility, but we must do our best to help others.
Their initial thoughts were simple. Seeing that there were many impoverished people in the communities, they decided to devote themselves to the Indonesian society.
Tzu Chi helps people who are truly in need. They have also helped a lot of people who suffer from various illnesses. I hope the Tzu Chi spirit can be widely spread so that more people can receive the much-needed help.
Tzu Chi provides assistance to all the different social classes, including those who are marginalized. People who live in poverty are also considered.
The director of the Tzu Chi Medical Mission read the blessing letter from Dharma Master Zhenyan.
怀抱无比欣慰的心情，由衷感恩诸位嘉宾，大德亲临盛会。
People from all walks of life gathered to play for world peace. The two anniversary celebrations had nearly 4,000 people in attendance. It's a testament of how Tzu Chi transcends all religions and ethnicities. Looking forward to the next 25-year chapter of Tzu Chi Indonesia.
Another 25th anniversary celebration was held for the Tzu Chi Singapore chapter. There was an exhibition where Taiwan's representative in Singapore especially took the time to come visit. He was deeply touched by all the missions that Tzu Chi has completed in Singapore over the years.
Taiwan's representative in Singapore, Francis Liang, paid a visit to the 25th anniversary exhibition of Tzu Chi Singapore chapter. Representative Liang has once visited the Pastor Riz Jingsi Hall in 2017, so he's familiar with Tzu Chi in Singapore. This time he has gained further knowledge about the missions they have accomplished.
I've witnessed how challenging it is for Tzu Chi to complete so many missions. I'm deeply touched by seeing Tzu Chi's footprints of the past 25 years in these 3 rooms in the tiny mansion. More people should come to the exhibition so that they could understand the admirable spirit of Tzu Chi.
慈济的这个伟大的精神来共同的发挥它。
When I was picking the photos, I thought that this one represents the great journey the most. We put together the best pictures in the magazine for the past 20 years in this photography exhibition.
Chen Shihui, who came to Singapore from Taiwan, is the deputy editor-in-chief of Rhythm's monthly magazine. She gave Representative Liang a private tour to guide him through the exhibition. Representative Liang's one-hour visit was meaningful because it has given him an opportunity to learn more about Tzu Chi and to witness the footprint of great love for Tzu Chi's 25 years in Singapore.
For the Sutra adaptation of Hualien's 7th Lunar Month prayer ceremony, many local school staff members participated. Since some of the schools are in remote areas, the onstage volunteers had to travel for hours to reach the Jingsi Hall for rehearsals. Despite the difficulties, these school personnel practiced diligently, hoping to set a good example for their students.
At lunch hour, Sanming Junior High School Principal Zheng Jianming is making sure the students are having a balanced meal. Upon returning to his office, instead of having lunch himself, he plays the video clip provided by Tzu Chi volunteers and practices sign language songs. Although his moves are simple, Principal Zheng practices over and over again while looking at the reflection on the window glass to ensure his moves are correct. He values this performance because he hopes to participate in the sutra adaptation to express his gratitude for parents.
I hope to seize this opportunity to express my gratitude for my parents. Therefore, I'm doing my best to participate in the sutra adaptation.
Meanwhile, at Fengbing Junior High School, Principal Liu Wenyan is enjoying the 20-minute class break with the students who are playing sports. Back at the office, he becomes students' teacher, providing extra guidance and help to students with their classwork. Since there are only 50 students at the school, the principal treats the students like his own family. When he gets a break, Principal Liu immediately plays a video of the musical adaptation and practices sign language songs diligently. Through the performance, he hopes to plant seeds of filial piety in the students' minds.
Once the seeds of filial piety are planted, he will be grateful when he interacts with his grandparents or other family members. It is very helpful regardless of what he does, whether he is studying or working.
Through diligent practices, the two principals gradually memorize their moves. By setting an example for the students, they're telling the children that with a strong will, anything is possible.
4 years ago, a plane crash not only took the lives of 49 people on board, but also injured 9 others. It also affected Sisi Village, which was several kilometers away from the Penghu airport. The incident destroyed 11 houses and 5 villagers were slightly injured. Tzu Chi volunteers were the first ones on site, and still till this day, they continue to care for all those who were affected.
There were some body parts on my roof, which soldiers came and took away. It was 3 days before I was able to leave my home.
Fortunately, this elderly man was safe, but 11 neighboring houses were damaged by the crash, with 5 injured in Sisi Village.
The night of the air crash, I was so scared. I couldn't sleep at all that night. The first people to arrive was from Tzu Chi, who offered us condolences as TransAsia Airways didn't come.
A few minutes after the air crash, our Tzu Chi brothers and sisters followed police to the site, despite the thunder and rain that day.
Wind and rain couldn't stop Tzu Chi from delivering care and compassion. After the accident, a Tzu Chi care center was immediately established in front of Penghu Funeral Parlor. Volunteers provided the families of the victims food and beverages, as well as encouragement.
At the time, he told me he was afraid. He feared this section of road especially. For about a year, he couldn't walk this road.
This old gentleman now dares to go home along this road. Other residents are not afraid either, because they know someone will accompany them. This woman who once lived alone smiled when volunteers came. When she found out that reporters accompanied this group, she was happy to share the story of the beads she is wearing.
These beads have saved me 3 times in this life. I wore these beads to the beach with my friend, and there's a lot of coral, and I fell, but I didn't injure myself.
Where did the auntie get her beads? We turned the clock back 4 years ago. Here we see her grasp this Dharma master's hand and receive these beads. Later, she graciously led Tzu Chi volunteers to her home. The horror on her face has now faded, but this wasn't her outlook immediately after the plane crash.
I was scared by the air crash and could not sleep. I was almost scared to death.
Auntie likes to take medication, but the beads on her arm are her special treasure.
I'm very touched by this. I'm also very happy. I wear the beads every day and don't take it off.
When the children moved away and her husband died, she decided to keep living in her ancestral home. She refused to move, checking the physical and mental care of the elderly living alone in the area, often done by Tzu Chi. After the plane crash, volunteers became more diligent in their work.
The young population has moved away. At home in this area are only the children and elderly.
Original residents of Penghu made homes from this coral, to which they added clay and lime. They then built this type of building, but due to population outflow, many of the new houses take on this modern style. In the Penghu countryside, old and new buildings are frequently interlaced, but many who live here are the elderly and the disadvantaged. Mr. Chen, who is totally blind, lives near the scene of the crash.
After the air crash, I was very scared. After all, so many people. More than 40 people died. This made us all feel very afraid.
A disease led to the loss of vision for Mr. Chen, and he wouldn't leave the house.
I couldn't rely on anyone, so I was afraid to go out. Later, Tzu Chi volunteers were very sincere and came again and again. They spoke for a while and encouraged me for quite a few years.
After a few years, Tzu Chi volunteers were able to influence Mr. Chen, and he finally was able to go outside his house. After the crash, the Tzu Chi Village Activity Center became a prayer hall for many people.
It's very quiet and calm. It seems like we're on the top of the mountain. It is that quiet. It's a lot better. There seems to be substance in my heart.
These smiles have overcome the darkness in their heart after the accident. Even more important than rebuilding their homes, giving these survivors a chance to get on with their lives.
China Tzu Chi volunteers are actively promoting environmental protection in the communities. They have conducted tea ceremonies and handed out eco-friendly handkerchiefs to the public. Can you believe it? Almost all of the recycling volunteers are the elderly. See, age does not matter when it comes to doing good deeds. Join us in saving Mother Earth. See you next time.